Moving on now, and peace talks between Azerbaijan and Armenia are ongoing as persistent instability continues in the Caucasus. Armenia's Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan sat down with TRT's Yusuf Edim to discuss the progress of the talks as Baku and Yerevan re-emphasized their commitment to territorial integrity.
So two countries have reconfirmed that they acknowledge each other's territorial integrity, and they agreed to have further delimitation of the border based on Alma-Ata Declaration. This means based on 1991 borderline. Unfortunately, when we try to make a reference in this draft of peace treaty, a reference to Alma-Ata Declaration, stating exactly what I just said, nothing more. We see reluctance from our Azerbaijani counterparts to sign under this, and they, unfortunately, so far, we have been seeing that they remove this part of the text. So this raises at least questions among Armenian diplomats.
All right, let me bring in Ubay Shahbandar, who joins us in the studio. Ubay, just give us a sense of how effective these peace talks have been so far.
Yeah, if now the war may be over, but now comes the hard part. So we're going to take a look at the details of what right now stands in between Azerbaijan and Armenia from reaching a finalized peace deal.
All right.
Recent hopes that longtime adversaries Azerbaijan and Armenia can reach a final peace settlement have thus far stalled on a number of key points. Azerbaijan wants Armenia to formally respect full Azerbaijani sovereignty, including over Karabakh, a region internationally recognized as belonging to Azerbaijan that was recaptured from Armenia last year. The dissolution of a former Armenian separatist entity in Karabakh following a counter-terror operation in September has functionally removed that obstacle after 3 decades of failed negotiations. But the two sides have yet to formally sign an agreement on the delimitation of their mutual borders. And Azerbaijan says that Armenia must amend its constitution, which still holds territorial claims on both Azerbaijani and Turkish territory. Now, the two sides are working on a draft peace agreement despite a break in talks. Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev and Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan decided to restart the process after talks on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference last month. Now, Azerbaijan says that a peace deal that ends once and for all Armenian claims on Azerbaijani territory will come with significant economic dividends for both countries. And it would also open up Armenia's border with Turkey, a key ally of Azerbaijan, for trade and connection to Western trade routes. Baku also wants to see movement from the Armenians in establishing the Zangezur land and railway link that would connect Azerbaijan to its enclave of Nakhchivan and to Turkey. But some Armenian hardliners are worried that this corridor could lead to further Azerbaijani territorial gains. As you see from the map, the Zangezur corridor will be a key element in any finalized peace agreement connecting Baku through southern Armenia into Nakhchivan and Turkey. The Azerbaijanis say that Armenia will stand to greatly economically benefit from not only the westward corridor's trade connection, but that the corridor would also end landlocked Armenia's regional isolation following full normalization with Azerbaijan and Turkey. However, Armenian Prime Minister Pashinyan faces significant internal political pressure. From tanks to trade, a peace deal will inevitably require compromise by both sides. The 2020 battlefield victory and last year's counter-terror operation in Karabakh formally ended Armenian control over Karabakh as the Azerbaijanis defeated Armenian forces. Now, in September, Azerbaijan removed a tank monument that you see here in Karabakh that the Armenians had established to symbolize their occupation of this territory during the first Karabakh War in the early 1990s. And while a deal seems as close as ever that would effectively end one of the longest running conflicts in the Caucasus, there are still major hurdles for Yerevan and Baku to overcome. Azerbaijan wants an ironclad commitment that Armenia will not attempt to reoccupy Azerbaijan land in the future. The good news, during a meeting in the Antalya Diplomacy Forum, the Azerbaijani and Armenian foreign ministers agreed that talks should continue. Armenia's Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan also added that Yerevan will be ready to guarantee the security of the cargo and passengers moving through its territory.
What we hear from Azerbaijan is that they respect these principles, and they do not have any intention to violate the sovereignty. But in addition to these things, they also they suggest that some third-party forces should be deployed along the railway, for instance. In addition, also, the expectation is that their citizens, their cargo, should cross the border of Armenia without passing any border crossing procedure like passport control, custom control, etc. Well, we believe, first, in regard with the security issue, we can guarantee the security of cargo and the passengers passing through our territory. In regard with the procedural things, we can simplify the procedures. Modern technologies, innovations allow us to find proper solutions. But of course, no one can enter our country and exit our country without even being registered.
Right, so Azerbaijan has responded to comments made by the Armenian Foreign Minister on the sidelines of the Antalya Diplomacy Forum. In a published statement, Azerbaijani government spokesperson Aykhan Hajizada criticized Yerevan's top diplomat for refusing to acknowledge the Karabakh region as part of Azerbaijan. The statement emphasizes the importance of recognizing sovereignty, referring to the terms of the 1991 Alma-Ata Declaration, which sets out the borders between Azerbaijan and Armenia, accusing the Armenian Foreign Minister of trying to cover up 3 decades of violations of those borders. Azerbaijan also decried Armenia's failure to withdraw occupying forces from Azerbaijani territories after the 44-day war. For more on this, let's introduce Dr. Fariz Ismailzadeh, who joins us live now from Baku. He's the director of the Institute for Development and Diplomacy at ADA University. Thank you so much for being with us on the program today. Now, there are a number of issues that I want to touch on. Firstly, there has been a legislation that was passed by Armenia that prohibits the recognition of Karabakh as part of Azerbaijan. How is this threatening bilateral cooperation between the two sides?
Yeah, this legislation of Armenia is now becoming a very important obstacle towards the peace process, because what we can read from their Declaration of Independence and Constitution, we see that Armenia has territorial claims on Azerbaijan and Turkey. So therefore, we have the government of Azerbaijan has said that these kind of obstacles need to be eliminated. Armenia needs a constitutional change, and that it should no longer have any territorial claims towards its neighbors. And after that, the sustainable peace can be achieved, I believe.
There are also reports of Armenia not adhering to the provisions of the trilateral statement by not withdrawing its forces from Azerbaijan's territory after that 44-day war, which is on its own breaking the little trust that had been garnered from that trilateral statement.
Well, trilateral statement was signed in 2020, and after that, Armenia continued holding their troops, more than 10,000 soldiers on the Karabakh occupied lands. So therefore, Azerbaijan had to take measures and conduct anti-terrorism operation. But nowadays, we see that still around 8-9 villages of Azerbaijan are under Armenian occupation. That needs to change. And in addition to that, Armenia still has not provided any passage for the Zangezur corridor, although it has taken obligations to open the border and transportation routes, and Azerbaijani cargo and citizens could freely travel to Nakhchivan and Turkey, but these obligations still has not been implemented. So one of the points that Azerbaijan would like to see, and which is also beneficial for Armenia, is to open the Zangezur corridor to allow the railway to take place and to have bilateral economic and transportation cooperation.
Right, we did hear from the foreign minister of Armenia say that Yerevan is ready to guarantee the security of the cargo and the passengers through its territory. It doesn't want a third party to control that process. There are serious disagreements when it comes to the Zangezur corridor as well. Just walk us through the security guarantees that Azerbaijan wants regarding the corridor. When
I heard that statement from Armenian Foreign Minister, I immediately was thinking that, if they are so good at providing security, why they do not control their own border troops? Every day we have almost violations of the ceasefire agreement. Every day Azerbaijani soldiers and civilians are being shot. So if Armenia can control their army, the government can control their army and guarantee the security, why they don't start with the border, along the Karabakh? But that's unfortunately, we don't see that. We see frequent violations of ceasefire. And there's a fear among Azerbaijanis that, when the cargo and citizens pass through Zangezur corridor towards Nakhchivan and Turkey, I think they might be easily attacked by Armenian militia, by Armenian revanchist groups. We don't trust the type of guaranteed security that Armenian government promises. But again, if this works out, this could be beneficial both for the region, for the Armenia-Azerbaijan, as well as greater, transport corridors in the region. We know that there's more and more focus on middle corridor, connecting Turkey with Central Asia, connecting Europe with Asia. So this Zangezur corridor really could open a lot of opportunities. But as we know, in 21st century, the countries need to simplify their procedures and create attractive conditions for transport corridors to function.
Right.
And that's what we expect from Armenia.
All right, Dr. Fariz Ismailzadeh, thank you so much for being with us here on the NewsHour.
Thank you.